What's up everyone, it's Dusty Gogoat. Welcome back to my headcanon. Leakers got a hold of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and have revealed the identity of every single Paradox Pokemon. This is a new type of legendary Pokemon similar to Ultra Beasts that resemble existing Pokemon. Think of this like time variants. Some of these new Pokemon even confirm Generation 9 DLC. Zach from the Lumios post is here to help me break this down. Let's get right into it with the Scarlet exclusive Paradox Pokemon. These are all roughly based on quote-unquote the past. First out, we got a Mungus. Very cool. It's still just a grass type. I don't think we know what the secondary type's gonna be.
Looking at it, I would guess fighting. It seems to be some kind of like swamp warrior samurai-esque thing.
That samurai aspect is interesting. I wonder if it will do anything with the Pokeball hands. Up next, we have Jigglypuff. It's gonna remain a fairy type, and it's got these little fangs. I think people have thought that this could be a caveman Jigglypuff, that this could be a vampire Jigglypuff.
Yeah, I'm guessing vampire. I'm leaning that way since Ku said that all of them are based off of like urban legends and stuff. So vampire Jigglypuff makes sense to me. I'd expect like a fairy dark.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think from the get-go, we always anticipated these Paradox Pokemon being time variants, and they're really not that. They're pretty much like different interpretations based on mythology. These are essentially legendary Pokemon. These are essentially regular Pokemon who become legendary Pokemon in another timeline, right? It's like in another dimension. If you take Jigglypuff in another dimension, take it out of Kanto, it's not this regular little puffball. It's actually quite a powerful being.
It's very similar to the concept of Ultra Beast, like how Poipole is so common in its world that it's a starter Pokemon, but here in our world, it's a legendary.
Up next, we've got Misstravis. This new Misstravis is going to be a ghost and fairy type. I've always thought Misstravis should have had that fairy typing, so to see this is great. And another thing that's interesting is that these Pokemon, they don't evolve, right? So this is not going to become Mismagius. This is just going to be a whole new interpretation that mostly looks like Misstravis. So up next is a really cool Pokemon that is actually we're actually gonna see it has two different Paradox forms depending on the game that you play, Scarlet or Violet. This one is the Scarlet exclusive for Volcarona. It's gonna be bug and fighting type. This breaks my head. Like, I don't know how a winged bug could be fighting type. Do you have any ideas on this?
Well, I think it actually will lose its wings. Ku said if we wanted an idea of what it would look like, look at its pre-evolution, but it's still a Volcarona. So I think it's Volcarona without the wings, like Larvesta doesn't have wings. And like you said, even that I can't picture as a bug fighting type. This might be my most anticipated one just because I feel like it's so absurd, the idea of it.
Yeah, I guess if you like give it a big horn and enlarge its like abdomen, or it's like its legs and arms, like then it's a Heracross. So I could see that.
Yeah, I guess I was like kind of picturing it on all fours, but that's a great point. It could like go bipedal and be very similar to Heracross. That's a good idea. I like that.
Okay, this next Pokemon, this one has got me so excited. It's a dragon in dark type Salamence. Paradox Salamence, whatever you want to call it, right? This thing is, oh man, this thing has me so excited. Salamence is an iconic pseudo-legendary.
Yes.
To me, it's like the epitome of what a dragon Pokemon should look like. It's fierce, but it's simple.
Absolutely. I feel that Salamence is underrated, to be honest. I think it got some love when it got a Mega again, and of course it was love when it came out, but I feel like over the years we've kind of threw it in the trash can, and I'm excited for them to just bring it back and just show how cool this mon is.
For the record, I have not thrown it in the trash can. I don't know what you're doing.
Me neither.
And so like with the Megas, they leaned into certain design elements. So like Salamence really leaned into its flying type, turning into almost like a kite or like a spaceship. It became like 50% wing. So this being dragon dark type, I think there's a good possibility that one, it doesn't have wings or its wings are no longer useful, but then also that dark type is really the evil type. To see an evil dragon like this, but it's Salamence, breathing fire, vicious, war-torn.
Yes.
This thing is going to be incredible. I'm really, this is my most anticipated Pokemon. Up next is another Pokemon that will have version exclusive Paradox forms, depending on which game you get. This is Donphan. So we have a Paradox Donphan. It's going to be ground and fighting type. I think this is pretty obvious. I can see where the fighting would fit into a Donphan, and we'll get into it later. I think there's some parallels here to the legendaries, so if you have any opinions now, you can say it, but we'll get back to that when we get to the Violet exclusive.
Yeah, and the ground fighting is actually a brand new typing. I know that seems like
really?
A typing we've had before, but it isn't. We've never had that typing before.
They should have
made
wild,
isn't it?
Yeah, they should have made it like Rhyperior fighting type. I could see that. All right, this next one is a Magneton. It's a Paradox form of a Magneton. And I'm really curious to see what they do with these, because like Magneton's made up of 3 Magnemite, but its evolution Magnezone has like brings in some totally new concepts into the design. I'm curious if like it's gonna have a little bit of both.
Since these are supposed to be like urban legends, Magnezone has the whole UFO take, so maybe they'll do something similar here.
All right, this next one is kind of insane. This is a Paradox legendary Pokemon. This is gonna be a Paradox Suicune. And big thing here is that this is actually not going to be in the base game. This Paradox Suicune will be in DLC for Scarlet and Violet.
It's going to be really cool, and I think that there may even be a chance that this is still in the data of the game, since the 2 leakers knew about it and saw its design. So we may, in November, be able to, through data mining, actually see this and get its typing. Hopefully we don't have to wait till next year, because Suicune, that's a dream come true.
I'm really excited.
Wonder if we'll get other Paradox like forms in DLC. I definitely hope so.
Yeah, that's gonna be a whole nother video in itself. There's one more Paradox form. It's Koraidon. I'll just say it. It's Koraidon, right? Koraidon is the Paradox Cyclizar, right? It's the Scarlet exclusive Paradox Cyclizar. That's how I consider Koraidon. And the same thing goes for Miraidon. Miraidon is the Violet, or the future version, the Paradox form of Cyclizar. Let's get into the Violet exclusive Paradox Pokemon. First up is a Delibird. This Pokemon's gonna be ice and water type, which seems fitting. It's becoming the penguin that it's always been.
Doesn't this lineup just feel just so random to you? Like, you have things that make sense, random. Like Salamence and Tyranitar. A little bit of a spoiler there, but like, yeah, Amoonguss, Misstravis. We know that future Delibird, Ku teased it by saying like launching something or whatever, and so some people are kind of thinking where its tail is kind of that bag where it can reach into and pull out a present, it's now going to be like a cannon it's carrying and just firing. I mean, it just, so like there's going to be a techno aspect of evolution, as well as like what you said, like going from flying to flightless and those kinds of things. That's my guess.
Up next, we have a Paradox Gallade. I want to remind you that these Pokemon are not going to be called Gallade. They won't be called Paradox Gallade or Paradox Delibird. That won't be their name, but they're going to be very closely tied to the design of the Pokemon that we're referencing here, right? They're essentially, I mean, they look a lot like regional forms in that way. But this Gallade is going to have design elements of not just Gallade, but also Gardevoir, Curlia. I think there's going to be a little bit of Ralts in there. This is going to be fighting and fairy type, which I think is perfect for this combination of designs, right? Like fighting and fairy are both the secondary types for the Ralts line, and to see these together without the psychic type, I think is really cool. I'm wondering, I want to see what this design is actually going to look like.
This is another one that's very exciting. If there was anything on the Violet list that would make me consider picking Violet over Scarlet, it would probably be this mon. Also, yeah. Fighting Fairy, another brand new typing for us, so that's really exciting as well.
Is it really new? That's kind of sick that we're getting so many new types. This one's going to be great. Up next, we've got Hariyama. All we know is it's going to be a fighting type. We don't know what Hariyama's second typing is going to be yet. Do you have any guesses? Oh,
man. I want to say, I don't know. I want to say electric. I think it would be really cool if it kind of like, you know, when it does the arm thrust motion, just like static crackling or anything or something like that. I don't know. I'd love really that. Cool. But I guess that is kind of similar to, you know, what's going on with Palmy. So I don't know if they do that.
For whatever reason, I'm thinking like Ghost. I feel like that's a really
Ghost would be cool.
I feel like Ghost is an easy type to tack on to a Pokemon. I don't know. I could see ground. I could see fire. That'd be kind of cool.
Fire would be really neat.
It's like such a powerful Pokemon, right? And it's got you know, it's like big. I could see a furnace being inside of it.
Maybe there's like something in like Sumo origins or code or whatever that maybe could reveal it, because I don't know, I feel like they'll still keep the Sumo aspect, so I'm trying to think in that area.
I could see
Steel.
I could see water type. Right?
Water will be so cool.
Like I'm
if they
thinking of a
dove
surfer.
into like the surfer. Yeah. I mean,
Like
that's what his gym leader was in Hoenn.
Yeah, and like the Hawaiian vibe from Alola.
Right.
Like, okay, I could see that.
I'd love that.
Fighting water would be really cool. So
Yeah,
moving
I'd like
on,
that.
we've got Volcarona. This is, I told you, Volcarona is going to have a paradox form for Scarlet and Violet. And this one for Violet is going to be fire and poison. So to me, poison, that aligns with the bug type. So to me, that's not too far. Like poison seems like a very secondary typing. I feel like you can just add it on. So this isn't too big of a stretch. Again, it's probably not going to have its wings. What do you think?
I'm getting very post-apocalyptic vibes from this. Like, I'm imagining like techno Volcarona that just has these fumes going. That's where like the fire and the poison's coming from.
Nice.
I don't know. That's just my initial reaction to it. This thing's so neat. I love how they took the Volcarona type and they split it up, and they had, okay, Scarlet's gonna have bug and something, Future's gonna have, or Violet's gonna have fire and something. I love that.
I mean, that, again, that is something that you would see in traditional evolution, a creature having access to two different traits, but depending on where it is, depending on what the timeline is, because it's not always just about location, it's about like circumstances. Everything is a factor for creature evolution. So I love the idea of one of these versions, like in one timeline it leans into the bug type, and in the other timeline it leans into the fire type. Very cool. So the next Pokemon, this is gonna basically rival Salamence. It's the Violet Paradox Tyranitar. Bro, incredible. And so we don't know what the type's gonna be. I feel like it would keep. Oh, dude, here's an idea. Here's an idea. So Tyranitar is rock dark type, and Salamence is dragon flying. Salamence gets the dark type, right? Salamence gets the dark type, so it's dragon dark. What if Tyranitar gets the flying type and it's rock flying?
That would be super sick. I feel like the obvious answer, though, would be to make it Mecha, since it's based off of Godzilla. Do Mecha Godzilla Steel.
Yeah.
I would also love because every single pseudo, except for Metagross and Tyranitar, is a dragon type. So I think it would be cool if they made this Steel Dragon, so that Tyranitar is finally a dragon, you know?
I like that too, yeah. I really do like that. I mean, to me, he's always felt like a dragon, like a dinosaur. So I would love that. Honestly, yeah. Rock Steel... Dragon Steel, bro.
Steel Dark, even, to kind of go along with Salamence. It has the dark typing Tyranitar too.
That could work too. Oh, I mean, I really want Dragon Steel. The next Pokemon is Donphan. Like I said, and this is another Pokemon that's going to have version exclusive Paradox forms. This Donphan, or whatever this Pokemon's going to be called, is going to be ground type and electric type, which we have seen with Stunfisk. But the thing I want to note here is that the Scarlet Paradox is fighting type, while the Violet Paradox is electric type. That mirrors Koraidon and Miraidon. I just said mirrors Miraidon. Like, that is the type dichotomy right there, which, again, I think the fighting type represents human, or not human, but like physical strength, right? Physical energy. Versus technology, which is the electric type. So I think this is a really cool dichotomy, and they're both. So here's another thing: Donphan is a wheel elephant, right? Donphan's whole thing is that when it does rollout, it looks like a tire. And Cyclizar, we've seen Cyclizar is literally it's a rideable Pokemon. So I think this is really cool. It makes a lot of sense. It's a nice little. It's almost like an Easter egg. And I'm wondering if like Donphan will be, or these Paradox Pokemon will be rideable in any way. What do you think, Lumios?
I don't know. It would be cool if they're rideable. I kind of can't see me being able to ride a Jigglypuff, but maybe some of them are. Like you said, Donphan or
I'm thinking
Salamence
Donphan specifically.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I do also think that Donphan is going to be important too, because like you said, the typings mirror that of the legendaries for their games. So I feel like that's a sign it's going to be important. And then Ku referred to them as bosses. So I feel like they might be some kind of alpha noble kind of position in the game in terms of the story.
I definitely think they're gonna be like some pretty powerful like bosses. Like if this is an open world game, we're gonna need something to find, we're gonna need something to challenge, and we're gonna need something to collect. So I definitely think these are gonna be like boss battles, and then once we defeat them, there's like a little story thing where it's like, well, you've saved the area, but you can also capture it now. This next Pokemon is going to be a Paradox Hydreigon, which is another pseudo-legendary Pokemon that is super powerful. And actually what I'm noticing here is actually maybe the type swap that I was thinking about is actually between Salamence and Hydreigon. They're both pseudos, Dragon Dark and Dragon Flying. Salamence is now Dragon Dark. Hydreigon is now going to be Dragon and Flying.
So the interesting thing about this is there's actually conflicting reports about Hydreigon. Some people think it's going to be Dragon Flying because Ku said Salamence and Hydreigon switched types.
Yeah.
But some people think it's going to be Dark Flying because Ku put up a picture of Mandibuzz and Volibile and hinted that those were the typings of Hydreigon.
And then up next, we have another Pokemon that helps confirm DLC for Scarlet and Violet. It's going to be a Paradox Virizion, which is so weird. So what this tells me is that we have Suicune and Virizion. These are both one Pokemon of a trio of roaming beasts in the Unova or the Johto region. I got two different comments here. One, I love the idea of if these Pokemon are in the DLC, that we're also going to have a Paradox Raikou and Entei. We're also going to have a Paradox Cobalion, Virizion, and Terrakion. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is probably my headcanon, what I believe to be true is that we're going to be getting a Johto remake in the form of a Pokemon Legends game, and then we're also going to end up getting a Unova remake at some point. These games will happen in the next 5 years, so I think both of these Pokemon are hints at what games are to come.
You just blew my mind.
There you go.